Hi everyone, my name is KJ Loving. I'm a junior software developer at Code the Dream, and today we are talking with Johnathan Radcliff, a site reliability engineer at Google. Johnathan, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing well, doing very, very well. It's a beautiful day outside. Really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in STEM? Tell me your story a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So I am originally from New Orleans, but I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. I was fortunate to have a lot of STEM influences from a young age. My mom and dad were really good about pushing just a wide variety of topics and stuff like that. And one of them that stuck out was STEM. And they also had friends from school that could provide mentorship and particularly show that Black faces can, be in and succeed in STEM. So all throughout high school and then into college, when I tried to study engineering formally, I was very much supported and I had a lot of help and a lot of resources. I knew where I could go. I went to school at Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia, got a degree in computer engineering. And from there, I am now working at Google in Durham, North Carolina. I've been here for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in a month. So,
Okay.
hooray. Um,
Congratulations on
yeah,
your anniversary.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Um, that's the 10,000 foot view, I guess. It's like the short story, how I got into engineering in the first place, what I kind of studied computer engineering. That was just the thing that, really stuck out to me the most. And then Google had a position open in Durham, and I have some family out here in North Carolina. So, why not full send it? So it's
Okay.
why not?
I love it. It's such a awesome story. I have two questions.
Cool.
One, can you tell folks what a site reliability engineer does?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, site reliability engineering is a job role that uses the standard benefits of just a normal software developer, software engineer, and applies that skill set to more production IT problems. So in the usual IT production ops, workflow, you're managing tickets, you're turning on and off servers when anything goes wrong, anything to keep your website, your app, whatever you have in software to keep running. Site reliability engineering says, well, rather than being reactive to the tickets and the outages and stuff like that, why not be proactive, use software engineering skills and philosophy is a really good word for it, using software engineering philosophy to kind of preempt these problems and make everything work a lot smoother. So we are mostly backgrounds are in software development, and we're just tackling this particular problem space. Yeah.
What might an average day look like for you?
Yeah. So first get on, check to see if anything that I've been working on related to any of my projects, making sure that they haven't broken at all. I check the ticket queue really quick to make sure that nothing came up that I can work on. If nothing came up, then depending on whether I'm on call or not, if I'm on call, then I just go into full triage mode and I'm responding to tickets and escalating to different teams or different teammates accordingly. uh, I hold a pager, so if I get paged for any software incident, then I go in and I try to fix it and bring in other people accordingly. But if I'm not on call, then I'm basically just doing regular software development all day or taking
Okay.
meetings with people. Typically work in Python and Go, although right now I'm kind of on a C++ kick,
Okay.
not by choice, but that's what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's kind of a day in the life, depending on which type of day I guess I'm having.
Okay, that's awesome. So I've been writing these down because the questions just keep popping up. But you mentioned like how your job is a lot about like being proactive instead of like reactive. How does that show up for you in like other aspects of your life too, like that proactive mindset?
Oh, it's great. I feel like in general, software engineering kind of like takes concepts that kind of they work well with computers, but if you insert some form of like humanity in them, they actually are just like really good ways to organize yourself and your thoughts and all that stuff. So being proactive, that really comes into play with just I guess my other responsibilities. Sometimes I'm young, so like I'll forget to go to the grocery store and like get some stuff, or if my partner needs something, she's maybe stressed a little bit with work, I'll Instacart her some groceries, or I'll send her money to go eat out if she doesn't have anything at home. Like little things like that, where it's like, oh, okay, I can see this about to being a problem. Like, this is a good way for me to be proactive. And, you know, whatever way you learn how to do that, as long as you do it, I guess the end result is fine.
Okay.
Um, of course, I did kind of pick up a little bit of that from my parents and the example that my parents set for me. But it also does help when we're like planning for trips or something like that. It's like a really good example of how to be proactive and preempt problems that may or may not occur. Knowing how to call the like 911, locating local hospitals in case you need it, right? Like all these sorts of things. Um, yeah, that's I guess that's a little overview of how I can use my day-to-day skills in regular life.
Yeah. You talked a lot about like your parents and how they were really good examples and like brought like STEM into your life at a young age. I wanted to like dig a little bit more into that and hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So that's a great question. My parents both are, I guess they have their doctorate. So my mom is a lawyer and my dad is a dentist. And so they valued education very, very highly. They're also very creatively expressive in their own ways. My dad is really good at basketball. My mom is very vocally proficient, and vocal proficiency like kind of runs in my whole mom's side of the family, to be honest. So when I was saying before, we were exposed to a lot of different things as a kid, it was because I think they did a really good job of not trying to necessarily like fit us into a box. Like you don't have to do this one thing, or just because I'm a lawyer, you don't have to be a lawyer, or just because some of your uncles have gone into the service, you don't have to go into the service if you don't want
Right.
to. And that was amazing, because I think all of my siblings can probably attest to, at some point in their lives they really struggled with figuring out what they wanted to do, because they had so many options before them, and I think they did a really good job of that. So I think typically, like I said, it's kind of just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. STEM really stuck with me. I don't know why. I guess it's how my brain is wired, but STEM really stuck with me, and they did really just like Christmas gifts. They would give me like a little electronics kits or books or anything like that to kind of like help pursue that passion and stuff like that. So by the time I got to high school, and college counselors or my peers are asking me like, hey, like what do you want to do, it was very clear like what I wanted to do from a young age. So yeah, really shout out to my parents, love them very dearly for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. It sounds like the proactivity that like you have to do on your job started like way, way, way when you're younger, with your parents even being like proactive about not putting you in boxes.
Yeah. I guess that is true. Maybe I gravitated to this role, or maybe why I'm doing well in my current role is because of that background. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you were always interested in STEM. Do you have a moment from when you were like young, like anything that you're like, that is when I knew that like I wanted to go into STEM? Not necessarily coding, but like just STEM in general.
Yeah. I think when I was 5 or 6, I flew on a plane for the first time, and I was entirely enamored by the entire experience. Like I was fully what is it, floored, bewildered, whatever, by the fact that we were in the air 30,000 feet above the air, and everyone was fine and everyone thought that was normal, and there's somebody driving us in the air. It was all that whole process. I wanted to be a pilot, but I also wanted to build the planes. But I also just wanted to like be in the plane, like not doing anything but just riding. And that was kind of like the first time where my mom said, well, if you want to be a pilot, gotta like focus on your math and like your reading, and stuff like that, so that way you can like be a really good pilot for when you grow up, just like little things like that. But that was definitely, being on a plane the first time was definitely that moment.
Do
Yeah.
you remember from when you were young, or even just like growing up, having any interaction with like Black STEM professionals? Like, did you see any Black people in STEM?
Yes. A lot of whom were family or family friends.
Okay.
Um, like I said, I have a few members of my family who were in the service. A lot of them were engineers
Hmm.
in the service. Outside of like my direct family, my parents did an amazing job of keeping in contact with their high school collegiate friends throughout life. And some of them were engineers, or some of them were software developers, or they uh, had done work in research labs at universities and things like that. So when any chance that they could get, that they would remember to, do, they would say, hey, you know, Uncle Mike, why don't you go take Jonathan to like a Memphis Grizzlies game, and then
Hmm.
y'all can talk about what you do for work, because he's a civil engineer, and
Yep.
let's talk about that. And he just like told me the ropes and said like, hey, like we designed the roads and the street lights and stuff like that. And it made me think like, wow, like you're doing, and he literally would point to the street lights and the roads that he was like working on, which is like really, really cool. So yeah, I was very blessed in that I could see other Black people be successful in STEM fields. Yeah, that was very key to spurring my interest in it.
Okay. I have a two-part question from that then. Because like in my area, like I grew up, I did not see very many like Black folks in STEM. It wasn't until I got like actually involved in it that I started like finding other Black folks in STEM.
Yeah.
So how do you think that impacted you seeing like other Black folks in STEM, and how do you carry like that impact on in your daily life? Like how do you impact other Black folks who might see you in STEM?
Yeah. Um, so my carrying it with me, I guess I realized that my experience was unique when I got to college. Um, in high school, I was fortunate to still have like a good group of Black friends who were interested in STEM just in general. So like, of course, people want to go to the NBA, they want to go to the league, they want to, do what they want to be, sports broadcast or broadcast in general. Some people are great, like photojournalists, but a lot of my friends were very interested in like STEM, science and chemistry and math and like all that good stuff. So that was really cool. But when I got to college is when I realized that not everyone had that same passion for it, in part because they hadn't seen anyone else doing it. So they truly thought that they were, not even thought, they were pioneering their own path through
Yeah.
to STEM.
Mhm.
And that flipped a switch in my brain. And I remember being at a NSBE meeting saying, like, a lot of you are really brave for even admitting that, haven't, y'all are just doing this because this seemed like the right thing to do for your path. I had always been told that I was going to go into STEM from when I was a kid. So
Yeah.
like this was a no-brainer. And I took that experience and I give a lot of my time to schools. Like I'll go out and I'll volunteer, describe what I'm working on, and really positively affirm people and kids especially that like you can do this. Like the Black Googlers Network at in Durham, we have hosted some high school students. We hosted some NC Central students, which is an HBCU. Um, we hosted a few Durham Public School middle schools in just like the past 6 months. And that is my like favorite thing to do because I love showing people that yes, I'm Black and in STEM we exist. Please join us. Like we need more of you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, that I really, really resonated with the pioneering your own path. Like I really liked that. It really stuck out to me. Um, because lots of folks, I was not pushed towards STEM. Like it was never an option for me. So I really did have to like dig and work and like find my way to get to where I'm at. And so that pioneering your own path statement, that really stuck out to me. And I think a lot of people will resonate with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really like that.
Thank you.
Um, Let me see. Okay. We talked a little bit about education, but do you have any like particular moment in your like your education from, you know, childhood through adulthood? It doesn't necessarily have to be like formal. It could be like informal experiences that you have learned from, you know, mentors, friends, whatever. Is there a particular like learning moment or experience that like sticks out to you that like is like something that you really like carry forward with you as you like go on through this crazy life?
Right. That's good. That's a good question. Let me think. I want to say I was 11 or 12 and I received a make electronics like book with the associated kit for Christmas. And I had no idea how any of it worked. I had way too much on my plate. Even like I was shooting batting for like the fields because I really got it and I really begged for it, but then I actually had it in my hands. I had no idea what to do with it. I couldn't read like the schematics that they were showing me, and like I didn't understand the physics because I was 12. So um it I think at one point it took me like about 6 months to even like get to this step because I was so intimidated by it. But I turned an LED on with a button, and I did it all on a breadboard that I put together, and I showed it to my parents, and they were like, "This is awesome. This is amazing." Just a gushing of like outpour of support and love for that, and that was the moment where I realized that I could do this. Because up until that point, it was just always something cool to watch, but never something like cool to do. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
and that experience that I took off from there. That was the catalyst. Absolutely.
Okay. That's interesting that you talk about like that moment of like that outpour of like support and like that gushing like adoration and like love, because I'm a big believer of like we should compliments are free and so we should give them often and when we can. Um and that people grow a lot better with love. Tell me about like that feeling in that moment of like that like support. Do you think that that is vital in like other people getting to where you're at? Like tell me about like that.
Absolutely. Because I think people are quick to compare and downplay their own like achievements, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's very easy to say like, "Oh, well, I was just following a book, or I was just doing, whatever," and it's so easy to take that away from yourself. And if you get too like caught up in your own thoughts, you will take it away from yourself, and you won't think that anything you're doing is exceptional until someone pulls you out of that moment and says, "No, this is amazing. Like you
Yes.
can do this." Like that that is crucial. I was always very, even when people would get like C's on tests, I'd be like, you
Yes.
didn't fail. Yes. Like you need to celebrate this. You did not fail. You know, because people are so quick to say, oh, I didn't get an A. Blah, 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 blah. I may not have passed that test. So you are doing amazing, right? You know? Um, yeah, compliments are free. Give them out often because that could be the moment that keeps people going. You don't know. So
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So tell me about like, because like it's empowering to give people like that support. Tell me about how that empowerment can come into play with technology, and like how we can empower, youth or just like the future of STEM, like the future marginalized folks of STEM. Like how can we empower them, and how does technology play a role in that?
Yes, yes. I think that as the world gets more technologically involved and more aspects of our lives become, increasingly handled by computers or phones or whatever, um, it's almost a form of literacy now
Mhm.
in this age. Like,
Yeah.
it, you can't just rely on having that one kid in your family that knows how to restart the router, knows how to, fix it's like being good with cars, except not everyone has a car, but almost everyone has a phone, or almost everyone has access to a computer, right?
Yeah.
Well, even if it's at like your local public library, or you're sharing it in like a multi-home or whatever, you should know what you're using, because there are people and there are factors in this world that know how to use those things not in your best interest. I'll say that.
Hmm.
Not in your best interest. So it's kind of like when my grandmother used to tell me, you need to learn how to count, because if you sign a contract, you don't know how to count, you may be getting robbed. It's the same concept, right? Like you need to know how to use your computer, because if you're signing away something in a terms and conditions that says like, yeah, you have free access to all my data, you have no idea what that means. That's
Right.
bad for you and
Wow.
anyone around you. So yes, teaching, especially starting at a young age, anything related to technical literacy is super, super important to me.
Okay. So you think that like having a good amount of technical literacy coming from a young age is like it's vital. It's vital. It's like reading now.
Yes, 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 yes. We still need to do reading. To be
Yes.
clear,
Yeah.
we still need to do reading.
Yeah.
But uh, yeah, it's like when you, well, I don't know if kids still do the computer labs, but like when you go into like the computer lab and like learn how to type and learn how to, use a browser, I feel like we're kind of beyond that, but it's still the same concept, not just using, but understanding uh,
Yeah.
the things that you use.
How do we make space for like folks that aren't young, like older folks that aren't computer literate? What can we do to bridge? What do you think that we can do to bridge that gap, or between just folks who aren't young who might have computer literacy gaps for different reasons, whether it be like lack of access or incarceration? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that I think about that a lot. I think the thing to do is really pull a lot of people who are also like passionate like myself about these kinds of topics. We're very technically literate, and we can get kind of caught up in the weeds and over explain things in a way that's just like not accessible um, to older crowds whose brains are kind of beyond that like sponge like absorption of knowledge, and it needs to be taught in a way that's more accessible. And what I like to do is create metaphors to things that they know and they understand, kind of like reverse psychology the person into understanding, you know, how their Wi-Fi works, or how their why they need an internet access to use things like Google Docs, because it's not always like obvious like why do I need it. It's just a doc. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you need to be able to explain those things in a way that you would explain to a kindergartner, one, so that it's like simple enough to ingest, but then when they're asking questions, being able to relate to their experiences is
Mm-hmm.
so important to teaching and reaching them.
Yeah.
I think about this a lot. I don't have like a perfect solution, but I really do, because I think about my grandparents and stuff like that, and I really still trying to work on like how do I convince my grandmothers that they are in fact good at computers. They just don't know it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I like that. You're good at it, you just don't know it yet. Yeah, I think it in my experience at least it takes coming with like a lot of having your ego in your pocket and being like very humble. Um, because for me, folks that like I've been I'm very computer literate. I can help folks with most things, but it that's not always enough, you know. It's kind of like when you're real book smart but you're not street smart. Um, and so
yes,
coming with like that ego in your pocket and you can like talk to people, get on their level and like I learned so much from like the folks I interact with like every day. Um, yeah.
yes, yes. Learning is a back and forth conversation. It's not just I'm teaching you. No, we're learning from each other all the time. Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, that back and forth is like very important, I think. Okay. So we talked a little bit about like computer literacy. Do you, what challenges and like opportunities do you think that the future um has at the intersection of like education and technology? I think computer literacy is like one that we touched on. Um,
Right.
what else do you think we have to think about for like the future of that intersection?
Yeah, that is a really good question. Um, I would say that I think in this case, I would say we need to let the experts like actually meaningfully like take a step in the development process, like not just for you know when a company makes like for example an AI tool that's supposed to help students like understand something, like who is in the room for that?
Mhm.
Is it are there teachers in there, but also are there psychologists, are there sociologists, are there um, just a diverse background in the team that's building it in the first place that can like have experienced different learning styles that they can accommodate? I think that, in my opinion, at the intersection of education and technology is like having more of an education like first mindset, like let the teachers in to like
Okay.
designing and developing the tools. I feel like we're kind of over engineering top down, like,
Right.
oh, this is what we think that they could need, or wouldn't it be cool if? But there's also another side of that teachers do have like challenges that I'm not aware of because I'm not a teacher, but like teachers
Right.
do have challenges when they're managing their students. They are better equipped to figure out what the solutions to their problems are if you just give them, hey, this is everything we can do.
Mm-hmm.
What can you use to help? We don't need to give them like AI chatbots that can like grade the papers if they weren't asking for that, right? Like that
Right.
doesn't make any sense. Um, so I would say that in general, we already know how to like create curriculums, like create like all of these things like related to education from professional all the way down to like preschool.
Okay.
Let them also use the technology to like to design their own solutions.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I like the who's in the room question. I want to dive a little bit more into that because like your example was like put for classroom applications, put teachers in that development room, the people that we're serving. Um, what I like this question a lot because I think about that a lot when it comes to like AI even and like what it's trained on, like the biases and the like the implicit biases that are in the training data because humans are inherently biased towards different things, and like that shows up in our research. And when we're training things on that, does that make them more racist, more sexist? And like, does that matter for the future? I think it does.
Yes.
Um,
Um, so just to reiterate, the question is about the importance of like, or what is the importance of who is in the room and how they affect
yes,
technology.
yes, yes. Thank you for
Yeah. No, just make sure I'm answering the right question.
yes.
Um, I think that's everything, and I think that whenever AI, especially AI, but really like any technology, whenever it messes up in a really big way, um, messes up from like a sociology perspective, not like, Instagram is down.
Yeah,
From,
yeah,
from that perspective, I think it's always the fact that there aren't enough people represented in the development rooms. I
right.
think that we, in general, like the tech industry in general, kind of has like a build first, fix later
Yeah,
mantra. I think the mantra actually is like work fast and break things. But I mean, that was cute in like 2005 when like Google was like novel, but like it's not the case anymore. Like
right.
Google serves like billions of users a day alone, just them. Like you still have like Meta, you have Twitter. I'm not calling it X. You have
Yeah,
Twitter. You have all like these other tech companies with huge access to a wide variety of people all over the world. And if the problem becomes so daunting, like, well, we can't represent anyone, then I would say the question being like, well, does this need to get developed? Like,
yeah,
you can't make sure on initial development that it is going to be safe for everyone. And of course, you can't guarantee like you're gonna miss things and like
yeah,
or maybe something will happen that's novel. But at a bare minimum, if you can't guarantee that like a certain percentage, like a high one, like 80% of like the responses or 90% are not going to do anything that's like explicitly harmful or pass on microaggressions or something like that. If you can't, assert that, then why are we even developing this in the first place? Kind of have to
yeah,
take a step back. Who are we serving here? Um, and I think that because of that ideology that we need to just get out the door, tech, and then
mhm,
fix all later. I think it does have like real harm. I think it really does cause. I mean, we're seeing it. Like we're seeing the effects of AI used in ways that like maybe wasn't intentionally made or maybe was hastily done, and now we're seeing the consequences of that. Um, yeah, I think we need to be a lot more mindful, and I feel like that starts with representation. But I'm
yeah.
biased because I'm part of the underrepresented community. So
No, that was the like really like solid answer. And like I'm gonna have to like think about that for a while. But it sounds like that it all starts with like who's in the room, who's creating this, and then who are we creating it for?
yeah,
Um, if it's an app for everyone, then people should be represented in the building process.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's heavy, but also like very empowering. How do you feel like me personally, like I try to shop black whenever I can and small business. How do you feel like that principle of like who's in the room shows up in your daily life? Like how does that impact you? Is that something that you look for?
Oh yeah. Um, yes, definitely. I also try to shop black, everything from like hair care products all
Mhm.
the way down to like seasonings in my kitchen, right? Like
Yeah,
everything I try
yeah,
to make sure of that. I think in times where I've seen it like I mean we've seen it in other major retail companies what happens when they intentionally pull people out of the room and
yeah,
expect everything to be fine, right?
yeah,
Mass protests start, um, general lambasting on social media, followed by a drop in your stock price, right? Because that's where it really hurts them. But I think that in general, I really do try to be mindful, even when I'm like, splurging or like doing an excursion or something. Like, I try to make sure, like, okay, how am I engaging in, maybe I'm taking a vacation. How am I engaging in this space? Like, am I going to be seen as an outsider? Probably. So what can I do to make sure that I'm not upsetting the natural balance of the people whose space this is for,
Okay.
right? Like that, I really stay mindful of that when I travel, especially out of the country, because Americans already have a bad rep for being bad.
That's true.
So, so I really try to stay mindful of that, and also to stay away from places that aren't mindful of that. Because I mean, if they don't care, and then I'm there and I'm participating in all that stuff, I'm not caring either, right? So
Yeah.
that yeah, yeah, that shopping black part though, that's I have almost like too much like just stuff because I'm like, oh wow, it's this new black shop I've never heard of. Let me buy some stuff. Like,
Yes. My God. I got my favorite body spray. My wife got me this like tester kit for Christmas. It was from this like black owned company and they just smell they're divine. Every single one of them is like divine and the packaging was just so good. Well priced, well made, like I have a huge list. We're gonna have to do like a link in bio type thing because I have just a huge list of just black owned companies. Especially for Juneteenth, tomorrow.
oh yes, yes.
Tomorrow.
All my outfits tomorrow, because there will be several, will all be um sourced by black owned shops. Absolutely. Yes.
Yes, I love it. I live for it. Yeah, we will have to do they'll have to link it when they put this up. We'll have to put together like
Yeah.
a Google Doc.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's shift the focus a little bit and let's talk about how you think that technology and education can help preserve and revitalize Black culture, heritage, and history.
Oh yeah. Um, it's almost it's like everything to doing that. If for nothing else, you have a second copy of, important historical documents, important pictures, because as we start to like wander into this, I won't say post truth, like just misinformation,
Yeah.
like heavy world where people can quite literally fabricate like truth or falsities like really, really, really easily. Um,
Hmm.
Having like firsthand copies of Black historical events that can last in perpetuity is so, 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 so important. I just saw a video the other day of Wilmington, North Carolina in 1927, and it was a predominantly black town. Had no idea that
No.
that was the case. Apparently, there was a mini Black Wall Street there, all black businesses. Like Main Street was just, and in the video, it's just a bunch of black folks just doing their thing, walking around, working in the shops, going and shopping, and then people, talking in the street and stuff like that. And that I was like, wow, I simply had no idea that that existed, and that's 2 hours away from my house. And you go there now, and there are like, won't say none because I didn't know that they were exist, so I couldn't look for them, but they're not at all immediately obvious.
Okay.
So that is like super important. People like to, rewrite history or portray
Mhm.
history in an incorrect way, and
Yeah.
so yeah, you need that for that alone. Like there are obviously like way other ways to do the empowerment side, but just to keep your historical context alive and your history alive, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, technology could be a very vital tool in that.
100%. And like I love like physical media. I think it's really important that we preserve and keep as much physical media as we can.
Absolutely.
But the like you said, it lasting forever in this digitized version, and also like the ability to share like online and like connect people because so many people are separated and displaced, the ability to like gather information and share it openly and freely with each other and other folks, I think is very valuable and important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree.
Okay, I have we talked about like seeing videos of just like folks kind of hanging out and doing their everyday life. It's kind of like content creators now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not on my list of questions, but like, what role do you think content creators have in preserving Black history, culture, and even like having an influence on the future of technology?
Yes. This is a great question because I was just talking to someone about how the concept of streaming
Hmm.
is going to be a bullet in history. Even the technology that like made streaming possible is already like very, very complex and could only happen in recent time. Like we all remember how well like Skype could do video calls, even in like
Yeah.
2015. So to go to like 4K,
Hmm.
like continuous video streams that are like can be watched by hundreds of thousands of people. That alone is just a technological feat. But to your point about like how they capture this moment in time, I think they are a huge benefit in that regard. Um, Content creators, I think, are really just capturing the essence of, well, Black content creators are capturing the essence of the Black experience, whether they know it or not. And of
Yeah.
course, they romanticize it and exaggerate it for views and for clicks and da 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 da. But there are genuine moments where it's
Yes.
just real, like the and there's so much more cultural exchange as a result. Like the Baltimore accent now is like super like
Widespread.
yeah, and I had no idea about it. Jersey Club becoming so popular is a result of this because Lil Uzi and Kai Cenat, they did some Jersey dances on the stream one time, and then all of a sudden, like everyone knows about Jersey Club. Um, yeah, it's a huge, amazing like benefit to the Black community, especially because I feel like we are like truly capitalizing on this, and
Hmm.
all of this documentation, all of our experiences, it'll be wonderful because then people will be able to look back on this time and say like this is how they lived and this
Yeah.
is what the world looked like and this is how they interacted with the world, and thank you for providing tens of thousands of hours of content for us to like analyze.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Yeah, I had to ask because when you said that they were just filming their everyday lives, I literally before we got on the call, I was just scrolling on TikTok and just a live stream of somebody just going about their day, just walking through the city, talking to
Yeah.
people. And it's just like maybe one day they'll look back on that 50 years from now to see what it was like.
Yes.
And it'll
Yes.
provide a narrative. And it could even probably I would say influence culture because like you said, Kai Cenat like is a huge influencer of like trends.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yes.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
little
And
side question.
no, 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 yeah. And to that point too, like Speed is unironically doing his own version of like cultural export to like the rest of the world. And
Yeah.
he's just a dude. I think he just turned 21. Like that's insane.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that question. So yeah.
Man, yeah, content creators. That's interesting. I'm trying to look at these other questions that they have now that have been going off script. Let's see. Okay. What advice do you have to other Black individuals on like how to get into this field of either education or technology or like just like give us an overall opinion on it, a view on it. Like Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Getting into, I think okay, wait, how do I want to start here? I
No, you
think,
take your time. You can think for a second. Yeah.
right. Let me see. I think that for both of these things, one thing that I would say at the root to really highlight how to just get into it is recognize when you're already showing the skills required in your day-to-day life, like you've been alluding to this entire interview, how you see your day-to-day life and how you interact with the world, and just say, hey, let's cherry pick these particular traits that you have and say, wow, that would make a great teacher, that would make a great tutor, that would make a great engineer, right?
Mhm.
You watched a YouTube video, learned how to change your oil, congratulations, you can teach yourself anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like you, that's an engineering mindset. You solved a problem and quite literally saved yourself time and money just by doing that. You can apply that to programming. You can apply that to research. You can apply that to teaching. And maybe you don't necessarily want to teach people, but you want to write curriculums or you want to
Mhm.
write textbooks or like like that kind of thing. Like I think that, say this echoing what my parents have told me, like you already have it in you.
Mhm.
That's the biggest hurdle, is always overcoming your own personal doubts. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone
Mhm.
goes through that, unless you have enough pride or ego to just get through it. So most people will have that hurdle to jump, but I think one of the easiest ways to overcome that hurdle is when either you recognize it in yourself or when other people
Mhm.
recognize it in you and can tell you that. And that's why it's important that people do show that outpour of support and love and stuff like that to help you see where you are being capable and
Yeah.
successful. Yeah. So you can, hop into those spaces. Uh, Honestly, in terms of like both, I think realistically, education and technology are like equally as difficult. Just to be
Mhm.
clear, I have so much respect for teachers, especially the ones teaching me. I was all in my own little world all in school. The fact that I learned anything is amazing. So yeah, that's an amazing skill. That's what I would say. If you want to get into it, either recognize it in yourself that you have it in you, or have people around you who can tell you that. Yeah.
So I'm hearing, from what I'm hearing you say, it's that like folks have already got the skills to be in these jobs, right? That especially like if we talk about it in like a coding or like STEM perspective, like a lot of people have the tenacity, they have the logic skills, they have those skills, and the only thing stopping them from getting where they are is, that maybe that little bit of like, coding skills or, STEM skills or whatever, but they have those core skills to get there. So
Yes.
people belong there. Black people belong in STEM, minorities belong in STEM, marginalized folks belong in STEM because the skills are already there, is what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that also lends to why representation matters so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because there's like this deficit in ability. It's literally because people don't see it as an option for
Yes.
themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is 100%. I resonate with that. That it never felt like an option for me until I came into Code the Dream and they showed me that like, I do belong in STEM and like
Yeah.
marginalized people do belong here.
Yes.
So
Awesome.
100%, yeah, it doesn't feel like an option to a lot of people until all of a sudden it does, and whether that comes from internally or externally, one day it does become an option.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can take it and just ride and be successful. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. The last question that I think I have is, well, maybe let's see. Okay, I have two final questions.
Cool.
The second to last is we talked about people supporting other people, like pouring into others.
Yeah.
How do you think how do you think local communities can leverage technology to deepen like connection and like learning, exploration, and like preservation?
Yes, this is a great question. I think that Code the Dream honestly does a really good job of this. And to elaborate on that further, um, some of the initiatives that Code the Dream does, particularly that one where it highlights and makes accessible um, state uh, legislation and like documents related to that, makes that accessible to the general public so people can like read and keep up with what our legislature is doing just here in North Carolina, like see what they're doing. That is huge to building community because you can hold your representative leaders accountable on
Yeah.
a much more local level, um, using the existing technology in very creative ways is important, like having a regular Eventbrite, like
Hmm.
this group, just so that people know that there is community, that people are organizing, whether that's for activist reasons or just because they're seeking fellowship, like whatever option that is. um yeah, I think that it is very, very accessible for technology to have a role in all of those things. And most of the actual tools are there, at least in theory, like they exist. Now they might have paywalls or something that we kind of have to like work around or maybe just reinvent that are like more community minded. But the systems that exist do address this problem. We just also have to fight the fact that sometimes the systems don't work in our favor. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now my actual last question is what are some thoughts or hopes that you have for like the future of STEM?
I am excited that there are more people of color and marginalized groups coming into the field every day, because I think it serves the world better when that is the case. I'm very excited about that. The more people that I talk to who are younger than myself who say like, yeah, I want to work in cybersecurity, or I want to cure cancer, or I want to just do pure math research.
Mhm.
Amazing. You know what I mean? That's awesome. Please, please, please keep going into that. I love that. In terms of like the tech industry as a whole, I think we are on the precipice of actually using these tools, like you said, to preserve, to organize, to empower, to build fellowship. I think the median or average tech literacy of the world is like slowly increasing, especially with younger people, obviously, like reaching adulthood or just reaching independent agency. Um,
Mhm.
that we are going to be able to use these tools in ways that will serve us and serve the world, because that's kind of what it's for. That's kind of like what it's designed to make the human experience better, right?
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
in theory. So like if that's the case, then yeah, I think we're at the point where yes. Now, of course, there's like big tech, and big tech is solving big tech problems and also kind of creating big tech problems. So like there's like that whole side of the world in it. Instagram, keeps you connected with your friends, but when it goes down, it's like everyone has a panic attack. You know what I mean? Like
That's
that's that's its own thing. I think in the more grassroots side, you have like things like Eventbrite and things like Code the like and companies like Code the Dream that really bring it to the local level and help people like that. I think that's awesome. So in general, yeah, I'm really, really excited. I'm really, really excited about the future of tech, and especially with Black people and people of color and marginalized groups in tech.
Yes. I think it's a bright future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it has been great talking to you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining me for the Code the Dream Juneteenth interview series. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now.